Cuts! 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 Have you heard? Cuts! The poor police. They're so strapped for cash, there's just a few pence left between civilization and total anarchy. Things are so bad that the Met Police could only task one police sergeant to warn supermarkets of their potential hate crime by not placing gender-neutral signs on their feminine hygiene products. And Notts Police are so strapped for cash, they can only afford to install 2 crying rooms for WPCs who want to blub about going through the menopause. But no force has been hit quite so hard as Coventry, who, when they were called out to a store in town playing sexually explicit music, had to make do with just 10 response vehicles. Cuts! Police are being brought to their knees. London's crime is out of control. Well, not quite so out of control. They can't spare 3 cops to deal with this man, who was caught committing the heinous crime of telling customers in KFC what total cack they were eating.
Basically, you've been in KFC apparently causing an antisocial behaviour and a nuisance in there.
Is that what they told you?
Yes.
In what way?
I don't know, that's what they're saying to us, so we've come up to ask you.
Several members of the public have got videos of you.
Yeah. Yeah, have you actually seen them? Because
Yeah,
in one of the videos, the guy who works in there, I just basically talk in there about the problems of the food in there.
Okay.
And
I know, I've spoken to you before, so you do it quite a lot around Pickle and that.
Well. Yeah, great.
I'm Middlesex
One guy he works in there. I don't want to get him in trouble, but he got a chair at me. He started getting a chair at me, just talking.
Right. Oh, there. So anyway, hello, sir.
Hello.
So basically, apparently you were causing a breach of the peace in there. Obviously, we can only go on what they're saying, so we've come to ask you what's happening.
Yeah.
You've explained it to us as well.
Fantastic.
Unfortunately, I can't obviously see your eyes, so don't think I'm being rude at all in any way.
Yeah,
apparently, you've been doing it quite a lot there. You've been doing it to a few other places.
Yeah.
So we need to jot down your details.
Right. Under what law? Have I broken any law?
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Yes.
For a breach of the peace, first of all, okay?
Breach of the peace?
Yeah.
What is the actual definition of breach of the peace?
Do you want me to look it up for you, sir?
Please.
Okay, let me just look it up for you on my phone so you know it word by word, because I wouldn't want to make a mistake for you, okay?
Not on camera.
Brilliant. Breach of the peace. A founding principle of law and order. An ancient right which is the bedrock of law enforcement power, and this cop has to look it up to know what law it is he's attempting to enforce. Well, you can't blame him. Blame the cuts! Cuts that wound so deeply, the Met Police have stopped investigating and responding to certain low-level crimes. Not this low-level crime, of course, because it involves hurt feelings, but, you know, the really petty stuff like car crime and assault. They just can't afford to combat crime anymore. You know, what with having afoot a recent £83,000 bill for officers who can't tell the difference between petrol or diesel when refilling their response vehicles, despite the fuel flap stating specifically what type of fuel the vehicle takes. Well, maybe it's not gender neutral enough for them.
And am I obliged to give you my details?
Just bear with me, sir. Let me start with do one thing.
50, the Police Reform Act 2002, yes, you are obliged.
Right, and what are the words of that act?
Acting in an antisocial manner, which means
That's
we've
not
got
the words of
power
Section
to
50. Acting in an antisocial
power
manner
to
because
require
somebody
your home
called
address.
you about KFC. What evidence?
We've had several calls,
What talk and
there's several
talking?
members of the public who are clearly
Yeah.
distressed by your behaviour.
Right. By my behaviour of talking. So I thought there was freedom of speech in this country. Is there no freedom of speech?
Yes, freedom of speech, as I told you earlier.
Yeah.
You've got your rights, but
Yes.
your rights stretch as far as when you don't cross over other people's rights.
What did he say? Oh, who cares?
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Well, it kind of does and it doesn't, because in what way was I crossing other people's rights?
I don't know, if they were feeling intimidated,
Yeah.
right, by your presence,
Just by my
then
talking?
well, I don't know, I wasn't there.
Right.
So I don't know what you were
they're
doing,
saying,
right?
Sir,
Yeah.
I will only go on from today and what they've been saying the other times. Apparently you're going there quite a lot with a microphone.
No, I
and
didn't have a microphone.
And you're telling people not to eat in KFC.
No, I question-
with some sort of protest or something. That's what we've been told, okay?
Okay,
That's
and
what
is
we're
that
going
against the law?
Sir, you don't let me speak, okay? You ask me different questions at different times, alright?
Yeah.
So I'm asking you,
Yeah.
basically from what they're telling us,
Yeah.
that you're in there causing a disturbance for them and their customers, alright?
Mm-hmm.
Them as a company, KFC.
They're a
if they don't want-
private company, so is it not a civil matter?
Yes, sir. That's why I was talking about breach of the peace. That's why we come along.
A civil matter is not a matter that's to do with the police, is it? Really, it's to do with a private
of the
company.
peace is, sir.
Okay, so what's the definition of breach?
Here we go. I've got it just on my phone, just for you, because as I said, I don't want to make a mistake for you, sir, because I know you like recording.
I do.
Let me read it for you, okay? This
Yeah,
is the
lovely.
definition of the breach of the peace, okay? It's
Yeah.
common law.
Yeah.
A breach of the peace may occur where harm is done or is likely to be done to a person or to his property in his presence, or he is in fear of being harmed through assault, affray, riot, or disturbance. Right?
Okay.
So they're talking about disturbance. Okay, you're causing disturbance to them.
Hold on a second. Hold on
and
a
the,
second.
and the
Hold on a second.
customers.
Hold
All
on a
right?
second. Hold on a second. Can we get that back, please?
No, I've already explained it to you, sir.
Even when his cop looks up the answers to what he should already know, he can't get it right. The key phrase in Regina v Howell, the case law he just cited, which defines breach of the peace, is fear of being harmed. So, unless the customers of KFC felt threat of harm by this man talking to them, there can be no breach of the peace. Not that it matters, because if Officer Plank had bothered to read further, he'd find that there are no powers to arrest for breach of the peace if that breach has already passed, which it has here. Nor do they have any powers to demand a name and address for a breach of the peace, even if that breach did exist. Nor can they mix and match antisocial behaviour laws as a means of shoring up their non-existent powers.
It's
Sir, I've already explained it to you.
clearly a breach of the peace. Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
Clearly,
go on, sir,
by the way,
please.
my name's Danny. What's your name?
It's Jeff Lawrence.
Jeff. Nice
Yeah.
to meet you, Jeff. Clearly a breach of the
You've met
peace.
before. You
Yeah.
don't remember me?
I meet a lot of you,
okay, no
you and your
worries.
colleagues. Sorry, I
Oh, I
apologise.
know that. Yeah, I do.
So, let me just, from what I understood by that definition, clearly a breach of the peace is about someone who feels threatened or if there's likely to be some kind of violence.
Correct. See how this member of the public who heard the definition of breach of the peace all of 10 seconds ago does a better job of understanding it than the police officer who's no doubt been enforcing it for the past 5 years.
There
was no violence.
Were clearly distressed.
Well, they
I've
made
spoken
it.
to you.
I understand they were
There was a
distressed.
female who's just walked into
Yeah.
Sainsbury's to go and buy herself some paracetamol because she's now not feeling well because she was scared.
Classic strawmanship. Doesn't get any better than that. Paracetamol for feeling scared. So who was this woman so easily startled she hangs out in KFC joints in the dead of night? Not that anything this PCSO says has any value, being as she's nothing more than a police officer crash test dummy and has even less understanding of the law than the proper copper. Police officers training lasts 2 years. PCSO trains for all of 5 weeks.
I make these videos.
I know, sir. I've seen your videos on YouTube. It's very good.
Fantastic.
Very good
Part of the
videos.
reason why I do that is to question any initiation or threat of violence. Yeah. Now,
Against
you may-
who, sorry?
Can we
Oh,
come
yeah,
away
sure,
from
sure.
the doors of Sainsbury's?
Now, to me,
Careful your red bag, sir.
to me, yeah, even though you may not understand this, if I'm not mistaken, you are trying to extort my details out of me when I
Extort
haven't.
your details, sir?
Yeah, because you sound like you're forcing me to give you my details.
I'm forcing you to give
Am
me
I
the details.
obliged to give you my
No,
details?
you're not, sir.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, I'd like to go then.
All right, sir, but let me explain something to you,
Yeah.
okay? Because I've tried to explain it to you as best
Am
I can.
I free to go?
Hold on a second, sir. You're
Yeah.
free to go.
Yeah.
Okay, you are free to go, yeah.
So the moment the police realise they've encountered a member of the public who won't surrender his rights on demand, they make themselves scarce, thereby cutting down what would normally have been a full hour's worth of telling off into a 5-minute sideshow of police impotence. 55 minutes less of street bullying is just the type of police cuts we can all embrace.